Hello, TradingView community. Welcome to my new analysis about Netflix. And with Netflix, I have spotted major developments currently going on within this whole market. And especially Netflix has shown up with this huge bearish dump towards the downside. And in this case, I have spotted shocking news that put Netflix onto the bearish side of the whole market. And the first factor that needs to be considered here is that Netflix, since the corona pandemic, has shown up with these important initial increases towards the upside. And this was due all of the people went towards their homes within the corona pandemic and watched Netflix. And this is why these meager increases towards the upside happened within Netflix. However, these increases did not have the ability to form any substantial continuation into the bullish direction. And this is why these heavy dumps towards the upside have shown up since the corona pandemic ended. This is the first factor that needs to be considered. As the corona pandemic ended, Netflix has completed this gigantic ascending wedge formation, and such a ascending wedge formation is in a vast majority of cases a huge ascending triangle reversal formation. And this is also the case within this factor dynamic here. This is the first factor that needs to be considered here. The second factor is that Netflix actually increased with heavy bearish dynamics as it pulled it back from this major resistance here. This is the second factor that needs to be considered. This is still a major bearishly inclined bearish setup development, especially as Netflix has shown up with this huge bearish dump towards the downside, dumping over 70% towards the downside. And also, the whole Netflix activity decreased by over 90% since the corona pandemic ended, because all the people went towards the outside and did not stay in their homes. This is the second important factor that needs to be considered here. Also, a major bearish factor that needs to be considered here. And the third factor is that within this uptrend that Netflix actually printed here, this is still a really, really weak uptrend. This is not any more than a weak uptrend. And this is a really weak uptrend because the volume is not there. And in this weak uptrend, the institutional smart money investor short positions actually increased over 4x within this market. And this is also a really, really crucial dynamic here that needs to be considered with Netflix, as it moved into these still remaining crucial severe upper resistance zones. This is a huge resistance zone that Netflix still has within this whole structure. And this means that there's a high possibility that the pullbacks from here on just continue into the lower directions. And within this whole development, Netflix still has this major resistance within this whole structure. This is a huge resistance that should not be underestimated in any cases. And this means that there's a high possibility setup that from there on, Netflix just continues with the bearish determinations into these directions. And in this case, I have also spotted a major formational structure here within this whole development, which is actually this huge bearish bear flag formation, which Netflix is now completing within this whole structure. This whole bear flag formation has been completed recently with this important bearish breakdown below the lower boundary. And this is already a bearish setup from where further determinations towards the downside are likely to be completed within the next times, and Netflix is going to show up with the huge bearish determinations towards the downside from here on. And therefore, these are important, crucial dynamics that should not be underestimated in any cases. And in this case, just when looking at this whole structure here, Netflix also has major determinations within this whole structure which determine the whole bearish trend direction, because Netflix also has this gigantic descending channel formation. And within this descending channel formation, Netflix has the main resistance within the upper boundary of this huge, gigantic descending channel formation. And this is actually a crucial descending channel formation because Netflix has this massively severe bearish setup distribution channel within this upper boundary. This channel is also a major factor that should not be underestimated here when determining the bearish dynamic that Netflix is forming now. And therefore, in this case, the next times will be highly decisive because Netflix is likely to bounce and accelerate the bearish dynamics below the 100 EMA, and this will be the next step into the bearish acceleration phase towards the downside. And from there on, Netflix actually has the ability to show up with a similar dump towards the downside as it already made within this first wave A towards the downside. And this means that from here on, Netflix is likely to show up with this huge 200 billion liquidation spike over 70% towards the downside again. Just when looking at this whole structure, the pullback developments are highly severe here. There are many underlying factors that put Netflix on the bearish side of the whole stock market. And therefore, when looking at this whole dynamic here, these factors are so severe that they should not be underestimated in any cases. The Netflix activity decreased by over 90% within the recent times. Also, this heavy short positioning within the market is also a major factor for Netflix. And this means that with these determination determinations, Netflix is going to show up with this major bearish wave C towards the downside. And this means that Netflix already has activated lower target zones within this whole descending channel formation. These are the main lower target zones that Netflix has activated. These are the target zones of this whole bearish wave expansion towards the downside. And these target zones are likely to be reached within the upcoming times, especially the 100 target zone is a major target zone of this whole bearish development and of this whole descending channel formation wave count development structure. And especially within the next times, the next step within this whole development will be the final breakout below the 100 EMA, from where further bearish acceleration dynamics are highly likely to be expected, especially when looking at this whole gigantic descending channel formation, which is a major bearish factor within this whole dynamic. And these dynamics are so severe that they should not be underestimated here. And especially because of this case, I am also putting Netflix on the short side potential watch list within the market. Remember that such developments need to have the appropriate confirmations, and then there's also the possibility to move into a profitable short side opportunity within the market. And therefore, these setups need to be spotted within the market. And in this case, it has to be also mentioned that Netflix is building such a severe bearish development that there's not much of a potential of a bullish reversal left within this whole structure. And therefore, these setup dynamics should be considered with a overwhelmingly high possibility to emerge within the next times. And once these breakouts below the 100 EMA have shown up within the next times, the next targets will be firstly the 150 area, and below that the 97 area. And with this being said, it will be great when you support my project further with a like, follow, and comment. Bye bye.